America, the congressmen don't respect us. The congressmen are making millions of dollars outside their government salary. Where do you think they are getting these millions of dollars, and why? The congressmen have taken taxes from us and ignored many critical needs of the country. They talked about inconsequential topics during times of critical stress the countrymen were bearing. We have public knowledge of weather modification using laser machines and chemicals in the atmosphere. That means our government has weather machines. Next, the congressmen are telling America that we have holes in the ozone, and all of these destructive weather systems are from global warming. There is trillions of dollars in losses by the people of this country because of tornadoes, hurricanes, violent storms, floods, and record-breaking snow, ice, heat, and wind. This is a direct attack on the people via weaponizing government institutions. Everyone wants the American dream of owning your own home and car and land. These dreams of the Americans were stolen by a band of economic hitmen named Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the Wall Street stock market in New York City. The massive destruction of the equity of the country culminated into a 2008 banker bailout. The congressmen and elected officials are the ones who wrote up the policy to allow banks to use customers' money and gamble it by extending credit. This is named fractional reserve banking. They allow the stock market to break the equity of the company into smaller and smaller pieces and cash them in until the corporation is bankrupt. We want small family business in this country, and we want to outlaw any business practices that attack family business. In 2001, China was allowed into the World Trade Organization. The same year, the Twin Towers crashed to the ground. After this happened, the global economy has been under a controlled demolition by China, where the Chinese Communist Party is using violent methods of exploitation to dominate the world economy. Russia is the second largest bad actor because they use gas monopoly to exploit the world economy. China is the main supplier of the Walmart monopoly and has rose in the past 20 years by exporting trillions of dollars of products to America. Next, a pathogen escaped from a Chinese laboratory into a food market, and it was followed by a war-like lockdown of cities of millions of people and starved them in their apartments. American and European leaders locked down all small businesses and allowed only Walmart and other monopolies to open for business. This is exactly what a besieged city looks like. The Chinese Communist Party used blow torches to seal the doors of skyscrapers and starve people to death, grabbing people off the streets and putting them in the back of vans, locking them up in prison hospitals. 50 years ago, a Chinese man named Mao killed 50 million Chinese via starvation. He is the current leader's predecessor. This is why China was not allowed into the World Trade Organization in the first place, because they are a genocidal regime. These are some of the most heinous men in the world. The governments of the world saw the Chinese Communist Party do a government lockdown on their people and decided that they could do the same to us in our own country. The state public officials don't respect us. They have acted treasonously against us in clear and public events. After the corona lockdowns, we saw tens of millions of acres of California burned down, while the governor Gavin Newsom was constantly enacting policy to damage the middle class. Dear Gavin Newsom, the governor's office of the state of California is an elected office. 4 million people of California petitioned for your recall. The answer is clear. This is 4 million people, and you are one man. You must step down immediately. The congressmen and elected officials and the justice system have acted treasonously and brazenly against the welfare of the state. We must renew all leadership because of the damage they have caused in the treasonous lockdown. America is the #1 oil-producing country in the world. Russia is #2. America has sanctions on Iran, who is in the top 5 oil-producing countries of the world. America has oil contracts with Iraq, one of the top 5 oil-producing countries in the world. America has sanctions on Syria and the Assad regime, only being circumvented by the Russians' oil-pumping operations in Syria and Assad's Captagon trade. America is preparing to implement a plan by June 2023 for the military to destroy the export of Captagon from Syria to all countries of the Middle East. This is the American takedown of the Assad regime in Syria. America is exporting gas out of Syria, using an army of Syrian men as security forces, under the command of the American military stationed in Deir ez-Zor. Ukraine was the pipeline express for Russia to access Europe, and Ukraine has 90% of the country's oil production capacity east of the Donbass River, where Russia invaded. If there's so much oil everywhere, why is the gas price skyrocketing in every country? This is the strong odor of corruption in the world trade of oil and gas. There are clear genocidal acts being committed in what can only be known as oil wars, where civilians are named terrorists and remote-controlled air bombers are used to execute unarmed combatants, denying their right to the prisoner of war status. The designation of terrorist is a military terminology, and it has no place in our justice systems. No government in the world has the right to name anyone a terrorist. The oil companies must pay for the evil they have done. The treason of the government against the people must be safeguarded against. It is clear that the governments of the world have too much power. They are dangerous to the life of the people of the land. They all have weapons of mass destruction, which can only have one purpose, and the purpose is to cause mass destruction.